Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Valo Ignite show. My name is Daniel Anderson, partner manager and product evangelist for Valo. So for those of us joining live, hello and welcome. These episodes are going to be recorded as well and published via our social channels. Now, with Ignite just around the corner, we thought it would be a good idea to, in the lead up to this event, to have a chat with a number of experts in the Microsoft 365 space in regards to, first of all, what they're looking forward to, what they're expecting out of Ignite this year. We might even get a sneak peek into their virtual backpacks. There's a number of guests on these episodes that are participating in the event, either as panelists or presenting sessions themselves. So we're obviously in a unique situation at the moment across the world. Ignite's going to be extremely different to previous years, not an in-person event, all remote presenters hooking up from all around the globe. Opens up a lot of different opportunities for people to join and consume the content that's being presented. Today, we're extremely grateful and looking forward to some discussions with two experts in this space and also that are going to be part of Ignite. Now, first up, we've got Cameron Dwyer. Now, Cam is the CTO at One Place Solutions, multiple-time MVP in the 365 development space, and is a highly regarded dev across the globe in this space. So, Cam, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board. Thanks for your time this morning. And where can we find you right now?
Morning, Daniel. Great to be here, mate. Thanks for having me on. It's a great thing to be able to do. I am currently situated at my home in Sydney. So, woke up to a beautiful morning this morning. You just let me know you can hear the birds chirping outside. If it wasn't for the pandemic, it'd be a beautiful day.
Yes, nice part of the world. So One Place Solutions, tell us a bit about your role there and also, interestingly, we were having a chat yesterday about, the whole state of where everybody's at the moment. And you guys are obviously extremely busy at the moment. Tell us a bit about, first of all, One Place Solutions and a bit about your role and what you're doing at the moment.
Okay. One Place Solutions, we're an ISV, so a product vendor. We make products in the Microsoft 365 space and have done for well over a decade. Our products are really extending SharePoint, Office 365, and just making the end usability tools to get better at user adoption of your platform. We're very strong in the Outlook space, so integrating SharePoint and Teams and OneDrive with Outlook. Several other tools in that space, but as I say, we've been around for a long time. And my role there is the Chief Technology Officer. Also, in doing that, I also sort of oversee the development team. Hence my background in Microsoft 365 development space and seeing it evolve over the decades.
So with One Place, how have you guys adapted to working remotely, not in the office? You guys have a physical office there in Manly from memory, and you've obviously had to adapt to different ways of working as everybody has. How have you seen that, and how have you adapted to that style?
It's actually gone better than I expected, and that's a kind of sentiment that I'm hearing throughout sort of the industry, is that there was a lot of resistance to sort of work from home, and there was a lot of fear over what it would work or what the implications of it would be. But I think almost globally that a lot of industries, although they've been forced to do it, many have found that leap wasn't as difficult as they first thought it was going to be. Personally, for us, we are a smaller organisation, and while a lot of us are centrally located, we were fairly well set up to be able to work from home, and we had the capabilities to do that before the pandemic hit, and it wasn't a huge shift for us to be able to do that. Obviously, being able to move quickly and having good processes in place helps. And having those quick feedback loops to know what goes well, what doesn't work well, and being able to shift and change to adjust is very beneficial. We were able to do that very, very quickly. Probably the thing that struck us the most was the ability for us to grow as a company. That was one thing that we were looking to expand. We were looking to hire people just as the pandemic hit, and it sort of put the brakes on it because it was something that we hadn't done before, and it was a little bit fearful to try and onboard new people, and how would that go, and what would that look like doing that totally remotely for us, where I think some of the larger organizations may have been more set up for that. But now we've gone through that. We've grown, and we've been able to do that fairly smoothly, which has been great to come out the other side of that with confidence, because as we were speaking about yesterday, we have been incredibly busy. And while our products sort of do help from the work from home aspect a little bit, we were expecting some customer drop off, but we haven't seen that. It's been a really strong sort of quarter for us. And we've needed to do that growth within the company to be able to support that and push forward. Yeah,
it's interesting. I think speaking to a lot of organisations that were almost in a transition phase, or their digital workplace, depending on where they were. Most companies that were already in that space and working in that type of way have actually grown, as you've said. So it's interesting to see how different businesses have adapted. Now, let's turn our attention to Ignite. Obviously, it's going to be completely different this year, not in person. It's usually a massive in-person networking event, but as we know, it's not going to be that way. All remote, presenters hooking up from around the globe, participants and that type of thing. Opens up a lot of opportunities for, I guess, everybody from everywhere to be able to consume a lot of great content. I did have to have a bit of a smirk when I saw the session that you were involved in. I didn't realize that this was one of your areas of expertise in the cybersecurity space. But as we were chatting yesterday, you did mention that you are, well, not as a byproduct, but it is something that you are need to be heavily involved in what you're doing as a developer and that type of thing. Now, your session is called "How Do Security Professionals Sleep at Night?" Tell us a bit about the session and what can we look for when we attend that session. What's the whole agenda going to be?
Yeah. Okay. So the session it's what Microsoft are calling table talks. So these sessions aren't designed to be a presentation session with a slide deck and you being spoken to as an audience. The idea is to join them it's going to be a Teams meeting setting, and people are encouraged to come off mute and actually have an interactive conversation about security in general. There's 5 of us that are co-hosting that session, and we all come from different backgrounds. Myself, I'm coming from a developer background, and really, as you say, it's traditionally not an area I would speak about. But being an ISV and a product vendor with cloud solutions, this information is hosted. Security in this in this world of hosted applications is a very important concept, and it's very important for developers to know about it. There's a lot of compliance issues, and different organizations have got different industry compliance that they need to adhere to. Sorry, interject there if you've got a question.
Do you think that security, that security compliance side of things is, recently becoming more and more important? And have you seen more conversations that you're having with people, I guess, ramp up over the last sort of 12, 18, 24 months?
Yeah, look, I think so. A lot of the underlying concepts have been there for many, many years.
Yeah.
In that, like, cloud computing isn't like new in the last 12 months or 18 months. Software as a service has been around for quite some time. So the underlying concepts, I think, have been there for quite some time. But I think in specifically focused in where we are with Azure, where we are with cloud applications, how they can be acquired through Microsoft's marketplaces. I think that it's becoming a hotter topic to the Microsoft 365 community and into events like Ignite. And I think that's one of Microsoft's strong points when you compare them to the other cloud providers, is that the whole Azure offering is really built on trust. And the proper data handling is in place. Being able to adhere to industrial compliance regulations and things like that is something that Microsoft is very, very strong in, and it's one of the competitive plays that they've got over other cloud providers, I believe.
Yeah. So, and how do you see these? I mean, it's kind of a new concept, these table talks, I guess. How do you see these sessions operating and the interaction? I guess there's going to be a lot of interaction with the community. They're able to ask questions and jump in and that type of thing, are they?
Yeah, definitely. And there's links from the session listings in the Ignite schedule. So the table talks have, alongside of them, in the Microsoft Tech communities, there is actually a forum for each of the topics, and we're encouraging people to go in there, post questions if they've got them. We will be sort of posting questions to the people that are attending the sessions, and we'll be sort of seeding them with conversations that we think are relevant and sort of pointing people to the right things and discussing amongst ourselves. As I say, we all come from different aspects on the topic of security, and we'll be sort of trying to seed conversations there. But I personally really want to hear about what people are finding challenging in that security space, and like, what are those hard nuts to crack? Because you're going to have some really good experts in that session that do know security inside out, and they might be able to open your eyes to bits and pieces that you didn't know existed. And there has been a lot of new offerings in the sort of the administration side of things that can really help you meet and maintain your compliance. And a lot of this stuff you don't have to do on your own. There's a lot of AI that's been put in place, and actual suggestions. Azure can actually help suggest what you can do to become more secure. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, apart from your session, what else, is there anything on your radar of other sessions, things that you're looking for or expecting out of or wanting to see out of Ignite? There's always a lot of announcements and that type of thing. Are there any other key sessions that you are looking forward to attending yourself and listening to and consuming?
Yeah, definitely. At Ignite, I think that the number of sessions we've got here and the depth of the content is going to be smaller than what you would see at a traditional Ignite. Just because we've gone virtual and they're covering different zones around the world, there's going to be repeated content. But the style of the sessions they've kept is the style of sessions I would normally attend at the in-person event. What I normally do is I try to go for more the higher level, what's new, what's coming, what's the vision. And I tend to attend those sessions rather than a deep dive on a particular technical topic, because for me it's more an awareness. And if I need to know that, then I'm aware it exists and I can go and search for it at that particular point in time and understand the technicalities of how to implement it. So the way that they've pared back Ignite this year seems to be that they've kept more of those top level announcements and vision, but we're probably not going to see the deep dive sessions. But to me, that's a perfect setup for what I would typically be looking to get out of this event. Yeah. And I guess in that regard, the sessions that I really must-sees for me would be Jeff Teeper's session. He sort of does a high-level overview at every one of these conferences, and now he sits across SharePoint, OneDrive, and more recently Teams. So it'd be good to see, now that he's been across that for some time. He's been through sort of the pandemic, and I mean, it would have been some tough shoes to be in, ramping Teams up and everything after it had just come under his remit when all of this hit. So it'll be interesting to see what he's got to say in reflection of that, but also the story going forward. It's kind of hard to believe that there's going to be a lot of big announcements that we haven't heard about, because Teams has been pumping features out on a weekly basis. Some of that stuff's been catch up against competitive sort of platforms like Zoom. Yeah, there's just been so much movement in that team space, and so much ramping up that's had to be done to support us through the pandemic. But yeah, Jeff's will be a must-see session to get you across everything that's happening in SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Office, the integration between all of those different products. So definitely got to see that. I am a developer at heart, so there's also a session by Mike Emelin and Yina Arenas. I think it's titled Reimagining Work with the Microsoft 365 platform. So that'll be talking about new pieces within the development platforms across the different technologies. So again, a high-level one that I'll be very keen to catch. And probably one sort of outside of my wheelhouse, but I think very relevant to where we're all working at the moment is Matt Wade. He's an MVP, and he's doing pumping out a lot of blog posts and small videos on getting the most out of Teams. And he's got a session. It's titled "How to Deliver Meetings in Teams Like a Rockstar," and he pretty much is. He's rocking it as far as great information, tidbits, techniques, styles, how to get the most out of Teams meeting and to use it as a real professional tool. So
he did an interesting one the other day where he was having posted with and having his video and presenting content. He's doing some really good content at the moment. Yeah, it is. So that will be a good session. Yeah,
and his style and his way that he presents these different techniques and things is he presents it in a very simplistic way, and he's very talented at being able to do that. So yeah, it'd be a great session, I think.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, mate. Really appreciate you coming on the show. We've got Daryl Webster sitting on the bench there waiting to jump on. So, mate, as I said, really appreciate it. I hope your session goes really well. I'll be tuning into that and enjoy Ignite, and we'll make sure we catch up after the event as well, and we can have a bit of a recap of how you went and the whole event.
Sounds awesome, mate. Thanks for having me on the show. It's been great.
All right, mate. Cheers. Thank you. Bye. All right, there we go. First guest, Cam Dwyer, a great MVP, and looking forward to his session. Now, we've got our next guest lined up. I'm going to add him in now. He's going to jump on board, Daryl Webster. So let's add him in here. He's coming in. Here he is. Darrel as a service. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, man. Good to be here.
Yes, good to see you. Now, you don't really need any introduction, I guess. You are very, very prolific across the socials. Everybody would have seen you. But look, you are your title, well, correct me if I'm wrong, adoption architect at Datacom. Obviously, a multi-time award-winning MVP many years. And where can we find you right this second? You've got a nice little backdrop there. Across our ditch anyway, across in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in Auckland, New Zealand, like many of us working from home. And I've been lucky enough to build up my kit and my environment here over 6 years of working from home. So one of the fortunate ones. I really feel for those that are working from kitchen tables and ironing boards and trying to take calls for call centers while they're trying to work from home and telling their parents to be quiet in the background.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you've been working sort of remotely for a long time, so you're I guess accustomed to this. So it probably hasn't affected the way that you work all that much. But we'll come back to that. With Datacom, how as a company, how have you guys adapted to that situation as well?
Yeah, we're an interesting company. I've been there for just about a year now. You could say we're a collection of different businesses in a sense. And so the space that I work in is modern workplace and everything to do with Microsoft 365. And so it was almost like it was our time to shine, right? We could finally help the rest of our organization and our customers take advantage of this thing because everyone's sitting in that situation. But yeah, Datacom's definitely getting a lot of work in this space of helping our customers. A lot of organizations have turned remote technologies on and they're working from home and they're throwing teams out there. But in my space, what I'm seeing is a lot of things that are just sort of left in terms of gaps. People have had to discover things on their own and forming bad habits and making things difficult for themselves. So, that's the adoption and change management space is rocking. There's just so much work.
Yeah, and I've seen it a lot as well, or specifically teams, I guess, where people have kind of had to have used, jumped on board and, they're communicating and working in teams in no really focused manner. And I guess that's where you come in the work that you're doing. Are you seeing that? How are you seeing end users adopt that technology? I mean, it might have been thrown at them, but people getting overwhelmed or, that type of thing? Or how are you seeing from an end user perspective?
You're right. There's obviously always a range of abilities and familiarity with the similar kinds of ways of working. A lot of us are used to some kind of chat program, but we can't underestimate that there are also sectors of our organizations which have been happy to use email, happy to use just straightforward stuff, and their focus is not the technology. It's about getting the job done and just understanding enough to do what they need to do. So we do see that range. And I think the key thing is identifying what is significant, impactful, relevant work and surrounding the technology around those scenarios so that people can latch on what they need to know to something they already know. Yeah.
And looking at a lot of great content, video content at the moment, these little tips and tricks and things like that. There's so many different ways that people can utilize technology. And a simple one I saw the other day of yours was around meeting notes, OneNote and attaching meeting notes and things like that. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you probably see this as well. It's those little things that we might take for granted that we know we kind of use every single day, but even simple things. And I keep going back to the simple fact of sharing a file instead of emailing it. I mean, something that you probably do every day, we do every day, but it's those little things that when people aren't used to using that technology, what we think is simple, is not earth-shattering, but is something that changes the way people work a lot. So do you find those little things that, as I said, we take for granted makes a big impact?
It certainly does. First thing I'd say to encourage those who do know these sorts of tips and tricks and maybe underestimate the value of them. Don't be afraid to reintroduce these sorts of things to people working around you and talk about that. Because as you say, the simple thing we might know very well could be quite new to someone, and it will save them half an hour to an hour a week, and that's massive. And even helping those who find some technology a barrier to get some comfort with a simple skill, they can gain that confidence and they can build on that. That OneNote one, I mean, I used to do a lot of OneNote stuff. And I thought, I'll return back to that and reintroduce that tip in this new context of this thing called a Microsoft Teams meeting we're all experiencing. But it's a vital skill that if you're an organizer, how can you make the job easier for someone attending your meeting to find those notes again?
All right, let's shift to Ignite. Now, I would imagine, ordinarily be there doing some, as you do, your networking and content and everything like that. Obviously, we can't do that as we were talking to Cam before. What are you looking forward to with Ignite? What are you looking to, the big ticket items, I guess, coming out of the event?
I know that my focus is usually and always been on collaborative technologies and communication and keeping people connected and in touch. So that will always underpin the kind of thing that I'm looking at, because particularly now, as everyone is working from home, our ability to use these tools and the way to manage those stress levels and that overwhelm is so important to be able to remain engaged with your team. So I am, going to sit across looking at sessions around the SharePoint, OneDrive, and Planner, the range of sessions around Microsoft Teams. And I've also got a particular focus this year on employee engagement and the many ways that we can do this within Microsoft 365 tools. Because you mentioned earlier, Darrel, you've been working from home for 6 years. You probably find it quite easy. To be honest, mate, it's not just that you're well practiced with using the tools, but knowing how to deal with stress and tasks and remain and engage with the team has become such a hot topic and important to everyone. So I will be looking at a number of those sorts of things, live events as well, like what we're doing right now. Organizations are using these things to try and reach out to all of their people, keep them informed, and then get that loop back of discussions and questions. So I'll be looking at those sorts of things.
Yeah. And actually, how do you guys at if you can give us an insight, Datacom, how you're big in this space, from employee engagement side of things, how do you guys handle that?
We've actually had a really good approach recently, and it was hurried along, of course, like many of these projects because of COVID, where we're using a combo of Yammer, live events, communities, and the intranet pages behind those Yammer communities. So imagine an awesome kind of hub site which brings all these different topics together. And we've got our speakers and various people who represent their lines of business going in, running the events. They've got ways of capturing those questions and answers and engaging later and sharing all the content as a wrap-up blog post later. So it doesn't have to be hard. It's there. And we're trying to get that concept across wider our organization and to our customers as well.
Yeah, interesting. We won't go down the Yammer versus Teams path then, but we'll leave that for something else. Now, you are obviously presenting or you're a part of Ignite. Now, you're sitting on one of these table talks all about working from home. Now, I'm just going to read from the title: Working from Home. How are other people doing it? It's an APAC table talk with a number of different people. So tell us a bit about the session. What can we expect from it? Why should we tune in to that session?
Yeah. So if any of you were watching Cameron's explanation of table talks, he hit the nail on the head. There are two ways that we can try and engage people and open up for conversation virtually. And it is a new thing that Ignite is doing. So our table topic is hosted in Microsoft Tech Community. You can go there and you start engaging and talking about your questions and sharing your experiences. So you'll go and you'll start those conversations within that forum. The short way to get to all table topics is aka.ms/table topics. Thankfully, they've made that simple. So that's your starting point. And I would recommend going there. And for our one, you just search for working from home. You'll find it. No problem. Yeah. Share your tips about what you're doing, but also let's talk about some of the human side of it as well. Like I mentioned, I'm skilled in working from home, but I also have some challenges as well with remaining engaged. Paired up with that, our table talk, you're right, there are 3 chunky time zones, Americas, WE and EMA, and then APAC, where it's a repeat session, 5 people hosting that same discussion. And the big focus with these table talks is it's not about you coming along to listen to us give all of our tips. Sure, we might share something, but we want to hear from you. And we're trying to generate discussion between the people that are attending Microsoft Ignite.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go. Yeah, it's a I guess a kind of a new concept. So it will be interesting to see. Now, give us a sneak peek into your backpack. What sessions are you looking forward to consuming yourself?
Yeah, well, I'll say something about the sessions too, and I picked up this from Cameron and his talking beforehand. It does feel like Microsoft Ignite, virtual Microsoft Ignite, is smaller than the physical event. And in the past, you've run sessions, you've recorded them, they've been available as you go to Tech Community. What I hopefully can help clarify on this live stream is that while the virtual event and the schedule you go through, your booking sessions, there is what's it called, virtual hub, which is where some of the pre-recorded sessions that normally they have hundreds, if not thousands of them in all these rooms dotted throughout the week. So you're going to find that content. It's going to be made live, I think, literally on the day. Right? So keep an eye out for things that are going into that deeper dive or going into other topics. Of the sessions that are currently on the schedule, one that caught my eye was one that was from Brad. Where have we got it? I thought I had it open here. Brad Anderson, and he was his title was about like playing chess on a trampoline. And can you imagine that, like this chessboard, and like I know the metaphor. What he's trying to get to is. You've got your plans, you're trying to lead your organization, and you've got all your chess moves already, and they're all planned out, and then your brother or sister jumps on the trampoline and poof. It's not just, how do we put these pieces back together? It's pretty much reset, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be interested in that session from, I guess, one of my topical interests rather than just technology. I do, like Cameron, I also like to attend some of the roadmap sessions that give you an overview of everything that's coming, and then from there where you can deep dive into. So I don't know where those will lead, but I know that the technologies that I'm looking at are around the collaborative spaces. So Microsoft Teams sort of main session. The other one, which you hear this topic a lot, it's like it's the same title every year, but it always brings something new, is the future of work.
Yeah.
So Jared Sabato, he will be talking about the future of work, but we're all wondering what the future of work is.
Yeah, that's right.
Look, we're living something very different now.
Yeah, that'll be a good session. Yeah, good presenter. That's excellent. Now, you're also doing, or considering you're in that change space, you're doing a podcast or video podcast with Daniel Glenn as well. So how's that all going?
Yeah, it's we're into our third year, and man, we have learned a lot. The regular thing we do weekly, we wanted to draw attention to what's happening in the Microsoft 365 Message Center, and a lot of organizations vary in sizes will miss that space. They won't look necessarily at what's coming into their tenant. And so we ran the show and continue to run it to create awareness around those messages. We see a lot of good engagement, a lot of good feedback. Some people tune in rather than necessarily reading the messages each week in that wrap-up email that we can get as an admin. I sometimes just tune in and listen to the podcast or watch the YouTube channel and engage with the live chat. And it's been good. It's been really good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. Mate, I really appreciate you coming on board. Keep pumping out that content. The stuff that you produce and you put out across all your channels is very informative, and I know a lot of people get value out of that, which is fantastic. I hope your sessions go well at Ignite, and let's catch up after the event, and we can do a wrap up and see how your session went. Not only that, but also some of the other things that are happening across there. So, as I said, I really appreciate your time, mate, and thanks for jumping on.
Great. See you, everyone.
Right. Cheers. All right, there we have it. The first Valo Ignite show coming to you from Australia, bringing on board Cam Dwyer and Daryl Webster. For those of you joining live, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. This will be recorded and posted out so that you can watch afterwards as well across the Valo intranet social channels. So once again, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and we'll be with you with another show Friday morning tomorrow, the 18th at 9:30, where we'll be having Helen Blunden on from Adopt and Embrace. So once again, thanks for watching. See you later.